We are on the record this morning in Tama County case FECR 018525, State of Iowa versus Huston Danker. State appears this morning by Assistant Attorney Generals Israel Koyaga and Michael Ringel, and Assistant Tama County Attorney Geneva Williams. Mr. Danker is here this morning along with his attorney Leon Spees. On August 12th of this year, Mr. Danker entered a plea of guilty to the offense of murder in the first degree in violation of Iowa Code Sections 701.7 and 707.2, Parent 1, Parent A, a Class A felony. Today is the date that was set for judgment and sentence. Let me ask you, Mr. Koyaga, is there any legal cause at this point to be shown why judgment and sentence should not now be had?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Spees, let me ask you the same question.
There's none.
And I didn't see anything in the file, but has there been any sort of motion to arrest judgment filed in this case?
There is not.
All right, then, Mr. Koyaga, does the state wish to be heard? Do you wish to be heard on behalf of Mr. Danker?
I will be brief. At times like this, the words by the counsel are hollow. This was a tragedy of unimaginable proportions, especially in a small community like this where everybody knows everybody. Huston Danker was blinded, both emotionally and spiritually and morally. It led him to aid and abet Karina Cooper in the murder of him. But Huston Danker is not a man without worth. He's not a man without promise. He pledges to his family and to his community that he will take advantage of his isolation to improve himself, improve his aspects and prospects for being a good citizen. There's more than enough grief to go around, and what every crime has ripple effects. This has cataclysmic effects for families and communities, and Huston Danker pledges to the best of his ability to correct the damage that's been done.
Thank you, Mr. Spees. Mr. Danker, Iowa law requires, sir, that I give you an opportunity to address me before I render judgment in your case. There is no requirement that you say anything, but if you do have anything you would like to say, this is your opportunity. So anything you'd like to say, Mr. Danker?
No, thanks.
All right. Mr. Koyaga, I understand there are potentially 3 victim impact statements today. Prior to going on the record, I had a chance to meet briefly with the counsel, and we discussed who the potential statements would be from. And my understanding, Mr. Spees, there's no objection to any of the folks who are proposed to be victim impact statements. Is that correct?
It is, Your Honor, yes.
All right. So, Mr. Koyaga?
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, there are 3 victim impact statements. The state will call for the first victim impact statement, which will be read by Ryan Cooper's sister, Michelle Wilson.
Good morning, Ms. Wilson. Go ahead and have a seat. And Ms. Wilson, you can move that microphone a little bit, I think, but we don't swear you in or anything like that. I am going to ask, however, that you please just give us your first and last name and spell them so we have it clear who's here for the record.
Sure. Michelle Wilson, MICHELLEWILSON.
All right, and then Ms. Wilson, whenever you're ready, you may go ahead with your statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. Here we are, back in the same courtroom to sentence another psychopath for the first-degree murder of my brother, Ryan Cooper. Preparing and presenting a second victim impact statement for the murder of a loved one is unjust. Not only did one of these psychopaths have a demented, vile, and evil mind, but they both contributed to the planning and execution of my brother's murder. At no point did either of the 2 accomplices consider their plan to be Unconscionable, immoral, unprincipled, or evil. No, their plan to murder my brother was just an item on their checklist, just an agenda item on their way to building a dream life together. A sick, disgusting plan to achieve their dreams, but what about my brother's dreams? Ryan dreamed of being a farmer every day of his life. Ryan dreamed of being a farmer like his dad, his grandfather, and his great-grandfather. I was 10 years older than Ryan and remember so much about him as a young boy on the farm. I remember numerous times he would stand at the front door watching the tractors and equipment roll in and out of our farm, just hoping one would stop, open the door, and motion for him to come out and hop in. As Ryan approached his teenage years, he could not get home from school fast enough during planting and harvest season, knowing there was a seat waiting for him in one of the tractors. After high school, Ryan went straight to working on the farm. He had followed Dad and Grandpa around for years, and now it was time to use the knowledge and skills he had taken in and continue on in the family legacy. Ryan obtained his CDL to be able to haul grain and livestock. He continued to learn more about the cattle business by feeding and caring for cattle at the family feedlot alongside Dad and Grandpa. He also attended cattle sales with Dad to learn about buying and selling livestock. Farming was not a job for him. It was a career, a family legacy, and he loved every minute of it. Ryan also dreamed of being a father. He first became a father at the age of 24. His firstborn was a son, and he was the proudest father. After divorce and a couple years of being single, he shared with me once how concerned he was that he would never have any more children. He was afraid he was getting too old. He was still in his 20s at the time. We were a decade apart in age and lived over half a state away from each other, so we did not see each other or talk that often. But I remember each of the phone calls I received from Ryan over the next couple years. Each of the 3 calls he made to me to tell me he was going to be a dad. And each of the 3 phone calls to announce their births. You could see his enormous grin and the sparkle in his eyes through the tone of his voice on the other end of the line. Ryan spent his years as a dad loving his children unconditionally, being a great role model and teaching them right from wrong. He loved showing the kids around the farm, teaching them about life and farm life, sharing his hobbies with them, and giving them a fun and safe home to grow up in. Ryan took his role as a dad just as seriously as his career on the farm. Aside from his dreams, Ryan was a quiet man. He preferred to stay in the shadows. He was generous and a well-respected member of the community. He would give the shirt off his back and more to anyone in need. No one had to ask, he just showed up. Ryan didn't do things for attention. Ryan did things to be a good human. Ryan's dream was to make a career and a life for himself and his family on the farm. Ryan's dream was to have a family, a home full of kids to love and to care for, to watch his children grow up and his children's children grow up. What Ryan wanted most for his children was for them to understand that showing love and compassion for others was being a good human, that working hard was honorable and rewarding. Those were Ryan's dreams. What was your dream? Was it your dream to have Ryan's life? You would murder him and assume his place in his family? To take over his dream and the life he had worked so hard for? You had 2 beautiful children. Why did you need Ryan's life? Was your dream to be like Ryan? To be kind and compassionate, hardworking and honorable? You would murder him and then swoop in to make it look like you're a savior to a family who had lost their father in this unimaginable tragedy. Did you really think you could be like Ryan? No, I think your dream was more disgusting than that. You honestly thought you could murder someone and get away with it, but that isn't how the dream was supposed to, but this isn't how the dream was supposed to end. Your dream didn't end like this, here in this courtroom, did it? I don't know you. In fact, today is the first I've ever seen you. But what I know of you, you believed you could do anything and get away with it. I think you're a psychopath, just like your accomplice. You couldn't appreciate the life you had. You wanted someone else's. You wanted Ryan's life. You wanted Ryan's dream. Ryan was sentenced to death by this murderer. Those of us left on earth were sentenced to life without Ryan. There's no sentence for this murderer that will achieve justice here. But the sentence this murderer receives today will ensure that he will never live his dream or anyone else's dream for the rest of his pathetic life. If she just would have remembered those casings, those fucking casings. Or if he had just known how to make his Google searches private. So many mistakes. If only they had known. But those are the things you learn when you kill somebody. Something else you might not know: when you get to prison and start sharing your stories, I would think it's best not to refer to yourself as anyone's gay best friend. Now, go to hell.
Thank you.
The second, family, that would be the last victim statement.
All right. All right, then at this time, Mr. Danker is adjudicated to be guilty of the offense of murder in the first degree in violation of Iowa Code Sections 701.7 and 707.2, Parent 1, Parent A, and judgment is entered accordingly. Mr. Danker is sentenced to be confined for the remainder of his natural life without the possibility of parole. His custody is placed with the Director of the Division of Adult Corrections, temporary custody with the County Sheriff. Mr. Danker is ordered to pay victim restitution to the estate of Ryan Cooper in the amount of $150,000 as required by Iowa Code Section 910.3B, Parent 1, and restitution in the amount of $14,944.78 to the Crime Victim Compensation Program. And just for the record, Mr. Spees, my understanding is there's no objection to those amounts. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Mr. Danker shall also make restitution for court costs in the amount established by the clerk of court. Mr. Danker did file an affidavit, financial affidavit with respect to Category B. My understanding is, I've reviewed that affidavit. My understanding is the state has no objection to me making a determination based on my review of that affidavit as to Mr. Danker's ability to pay Category B restitution. Is that correct, Mr. Kodiaga?
Yes, Your Honor.
Based on my review of that affidavit, I will waive payment of Category B restitution for Mr. Danker. As required by Chapter 81 of the Iowa Criminal Code, Mr. Danker shall provide a DNA sample to the Department of Correctional Services for purposes of DNA profiling. Pursuant to Iowa Code Section 811.1, no appeal bond is permitted in this case. As far as the reasons for my sentence are concerned, the sentence imposed is mandatory and court has no discretion to impose anything else. Mr. Danker, I do give you some credit for your guilty plea and taking some responsibility for your actions in connection with the senseless murder of Ryan Cooper. Whether you admitted your full involvement in exactly who shot Ryan Cooper, we may never know. I also hope that you have the opportunity to demonstrate your worth as indicated by Mr. Spees moving forward. But all that said, your guilty plea does not atone for Mr. Cooper's senseless murder, which has impacted so many people, as you've heard here today from the victim impact statements that have been given. You'll have plenty of time to think about that, ponder that with your sentence. Mr. Danker, I do need to let you know that you have a right to appeal this case to the Iowa Supreme Court. If you're unable to pay the costs associated with the appeal, you have the right to apply to the court for appointment of counsel and furnishing of any necessary transcripts. All is provided for in Iowa Criminal Code Chapter 814. If you do want to appeal, you have to perfect your appeal by filing a written notice of appeal with the Tama County Court within 30 days of the day. Perfection of your appeal in that matter is a jurisdictional requirement. Failure to comply with the provisions in Iowa Criminal Code Chapter 814 will preclude you from your right to pursue an appeal. If you do want to appeal, you have to have a copy of the notice of appeal served on or delivered to the Iowa Attorney General's office. Is there any further record that needs to be made today that you're aware of, Mr. Kodiaga?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Spees?
Nothing further.
One other item I do want to address. There was a pending motion related to some seized property. My understanding is that the state will be resisting that. I'm going to ask order that the state file a written resistance, if any, by the end of next week. And then we'll address that as necessary following filing of that resistance. All right. With that, since I added that, anything further, Mr. Kodiaga?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Spees?
Nothing else.
All right, then we are adjourned.
All rise.